You know, asking for something can be tricky in any language, but in Japanese, it's a whole different level. It's not just what you ask, but how you ask, and maybe most importantly, who you're asking. So in this explainer, we're going to dive into the 3 essential ways to make a request so you can handle pretty much any social situation with confidence.
Yeah, this is the big question, right? If you get it wrong, you might come off as rude, or on the other hand, just weirdly formal. But if you nail it, your conversations will feel so much smoother and more natural. So let's break down exactly how to do that. First up, we've got the most polite form. I want you to think of this as your fail-safe, your go-to option when you're just not sure. Because trust me, it's always better to be a little too polite than not polite enough.
And that phrase is te itadakimasen ka. This is an incredibly polite and respectful way to ask for a favor. You're going to use this when you're talking to someone with a higher status, like your boss or a teacher, or even a total stranger that you want to show respect to. It literally translates to something like, could I humbly receive the favor of you doing this?
The way you build it is actually super simple. You just take what's called the te form of any verb and you stick itadakimasen ka right on the end. For instance, the verb to teach, which is oshieru, becomes oshiete, and then you just add our phrase.
So here's a perfect example of this in action. You're talking to your teacher, your sensei, and this super formal request is absolutely the right choice. It shows you respect their position.
And it's not just for school. Check this out in a work setting. Here, you're speaking to your department manager, or bucho. In a Japanese office, this level of politeness is pretty much expected when you're talking to a superior.
So what about a stranger? Well, it works perfectly there too. You're just asking someone you don't know for a small favor, and using ke itadakimasen ka is a really safe and respectful way to go about it. Now, let's see what happens when the social gap isn't quite so wide.
All right, now we're moving into the kind of polite Japanese you'll probably use most often in your day-to-day life. This is for people you know, but who aren't, your best friends or family.
This next phrase is te kuremasen ka. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still very polite, but it's definitely a step down in formality from what we just looked at. It has a feeling of, won't you do this for me? And it's perfect for people on your level, like coworkers or acquaintances you're friendly with. And the grammar? Just as easy. Again, you take the te form of the verb, but this time you just add kuremasen ka. Even the structure itself just feels a little bit more relaxed, doesn't it? Here's a great situation for it. This is a polite request you might make to someone you know, maybe a partner or a friend you're not super close with. It's considerate, but it doesn't sound stuffy or overly formal.
And notice here, we're using a first name, Taro. That's a huge clue. It tells you there's some familiarity. You're probably coworkers or friends, and this request is pitched perfectly. It's friendly, but still respectful.
And same thing here with Ken. This is a really common, polite way to ask someone on your level for a little help. It's direct, it's clear, and it keeps things positive.
Okay, for our last one, a little word of caution. This form is the most casual. It's the language you use when you're really close with someone, and it's reserved exclusively for them. I mean, if you use this with your boss, it would be a huge mistake. And that phrase is te kurenai? You see that question mark? It's not just for show. You really say it with a rising tone at the end. This is what you use when that social distance between you and the other person is pretty much zero. We're talking close friends, siblings, your partner, and the structure just feels casual too. It's the simplest one yet, just the te form of the verb followed by kurenai. It's short, it's punchy, and implies a ton of comfort and familiarity. This is totally something you'd hear at home. It's a warm, casual request you might make to a parent or a sibling, or maybe the partner you live with.
Now, this is what's really cool. Remember way back at the beginning, we asked a teacher to teach us kanji using that super polite oshiete itadakimasen ka? Well, look at this. We're asking a close friend, Hanako, the exact same thing, but we're using oshiete kurenai. This one comparison shows you everything. The relationship changes the grammar completely. Here's another one. A simple, direct request you'd make to a friend without a second thought. Now just imagine asking a stranger to open the door. You'd have to jump all the way back to that much more formal akede itadakimasen ka. It's the same basic action, but the social situation and the words you use are just worlds apart. Okay, so we've gone through the 3 main levels for making requests. Let's put them all side by side, so the differences are crystal clear. This table pretty much sums it all up.
At the very top, you've got te itadakimasen ka. That's your very high politeness level for superiors and strangers. Right in the middle is te kudasaimasen ka, your standard polite go-to for coworkers and acquaintances. And then at the bottom, te kurenai, that's the casual one, strictly for your close friends and family.
So, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. In Japanese, your relationship to the person you're talking to determines everything. It's not just about being polite, it's about being socially appropriate for that specific context.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This whole complex system of politeness, it's not just about grammar rules. It's really a window into the culture. What does the need for these really specific verbal signs of social status and distance tell us about communication and social harmony in Japan? Definitely something to think about.